Hi there. So, I want to tell you a story, have a little learning moment with you. I was on my way into Wisconsin, and there was a guy riding a motorcycle. It was a Harley. And on the back of his jacket was a big rebel flag. And I've seen rebel flags many times. Every once in a while, you see someone flying one out of their pickup truck or whatever. And I was working with a kid who had the rebel flag flying. And I asked him what that means. And he says, it's a rebel. It means you're a rebel. It means you don't give a fuck about what anyone says and you do what you want. I said, well, all right, I guess so. Well, as the things went down in Georgia and Charleston, and the subject came up of the rebel flag and heritage of the South and whatnot, I started to study it a little bit more, and especially since I live close to Galena, Illinois, which is where the winner of the Civil War lived. And living next to Illinois, that's where the president who won the Civil War lived. And I'm working on a house that the winner of the Civil War used to frequent. Now, I started to study the Civil War a little bit, and just to, kind of know the history of the building I'm working on. And it turns out that after the Civil War was decided and General Lee had lost, you see, Ulysses S. Grant, the general for the North, the Union Army, who lived in Galena, Illinois, not far from where I live, he had more troops than General Lee, so he had more power. There was more power on the North than the South. And when the North won and Abraham Lincoln became president, and then Abraham Lincoln was then assassinated, the country thought that Robert E. Lee had something to do with it. So they went and they found Robert E. Lee, and they held him, and they were gonna lynch him. They were gonna kill him. And the only thing that stopped General E. Lee from being killed, and for his history, is his fate was going to be the man whose life ended because the president of the North was assassinated. That was going to be his story. But instead, the general of the North, the one who beat him, who defeated him, Ulysses S. Grant, by his word alone, Robert E. Lee's life was not ended. So, not only was the North the winner of the Civil War, but they were also merciful to those that they defeated. Okay? Now, what does the flag stand for that you see all the time? Well, that's the battle flag of West Virginia, or Virginia. That's the battle flag that Robert E. Lee flew when he went out and he lost battles. Because he lost. Now, that's historically correct of what that flag is. It wasn't flown for any other reason than for General Lee going out into the field and battling the North, inevitably losing again and again and again. Then the only reason that General Lee lived was because he was given mercy by the winner of those battles. Now, when people fly those flags and they say, well, it's heritage, well, unless you have like an ancestor who was killed in those battles in which Robert E. Lee lost, or you have an ancestor who lived in Virginia, that's the only heritage that flag represents. But the reason that a lot of people fly it is because they're racist, because they believe that slaves should still be slaves, and they don't want to admit that the history of humankind has decided that's not going to fly, not in America. So every generation that goes forward from this point on, there's just going to be less and less of that belief of oppressing black people. Okay, it's going to be less and less and less, because it's the whole. I mean, you even got people flying the flag for the army that fought to keep slavery They don't even know why they're flying it. They think that it means rebellion or independence or no, it means that you believe in an army that fought to keep slaves who ultimately lost. That's what that flag represents. It doesn't mean, yeah, you can say it's a rebel flag, but it was a rebel when the reason it's a rebel flag is because you were rebelling against the North because the North didn't want slavery. That's what the rebellion part of it. That it doesn't mean anything about being on your own and doing what you want. No, it means you're rebelling against the greater good of not enslaving another human being. That's what you're rebelling against. So it doesn't, you're not getting any brownie points from anybody. Like, nobody wants to join your cause because it's shitty. Like I think it was 650,000 people died to decide that slavery is bad. And then when you go and fly that flag, it's like, it's literally like saying, like, you know, I am not a winner. Like, you choose to be a part of a very small percentage of human beings that survived a war that wanted to keep slavery, you know. And FYI, after the Civil War was over and slavery was abolished, even though you had all these you know, colored folk out there, the South, they went broke, man. That's why they're the leading recipient of welfare and food stamps and all this. It destroyed the South for the most part. A lot of it is still prospering, but for the most part, poverty-stricken. Why? Because they couldn't survive without slavery. And it's sad. It's sad to see anybody want to continue this belief that you are better than someone else for no reason and that you need to be the ruler over them so that they can make profit for you. That doesn't make sense. If you don't do the work, you don't get the profit. That's the American way. You want something, do the work for it. It shouldn't be for free. Stop flying the rebel flag. It doesn't mean what you think it means. And as the information age continues to go and prosper, we're going to see it, and we're going to see that your only reason you're flying is it's either because you are seriously just evil and on the wrong side of history, or you're ignorant and you don't know what the fuck you're flying. So, little history lesson for you. Thanks.